Welcome to Sweeping the Country. I'm Derek Walker, your host, along with my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Carter. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Oh, here we are in spring where all the pollen is in the air.
Oh, gosh.
All the people are starting to think about where they're going for the summer, and which I have not.
Okay.
And people today, as we do this, is tax day. And luckily I got that away in March.
March, you were so far ahead of the game.
I was real far ahead of the game on this. But I paid.
Did you?
I just don't like it hanging over my head.
I don't like it either. I could never be one of those people where
I do not trust the U.S. mail anymore for anything important.
Yeah.
So I just direct from my bank account. They sucked it out of the thing.
Yeah, it's
so
easy.
fast it made your head spin.
I got a federal money back. I got a rebate this year, and it was because I bought a hybrid car, which I didn't even think of. And then we were doing our taxes. We're like, hey, we bought a hybrid car last year. Let's see what happens. And boom, money back. And so we must have got it within a week. It went right into the account within one week. So that's great. But I could never be one of those people that doesn't pay my taxes. And it's not because I feel like I'm
those that do that, it really does. I'm sure. I'm pretty confident that it will eventually catch up with you.
Right, exactly.
And it's going to be, and it's uglier than a capital U.
Right. It's not worth hanging over your head.
So you don't want to fool with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Also over the weekend, the Masters. I've known this in TV. Color TV is made up of three colors.
Okay.
The tube, red, green, and blue, and that equals how you see color TV. It was the tubes that were created when those colors join together. You get all the colors.
Okay.
Well, I'd heard this, but you can turn up. If you're messing with photos, you can turn the blue up a little bit, and if you're really doing really good big stuff like bigger, maybe Photoshop or bigger, you can jack up certain colors.
Yeah, sure.
Well, green is a primary color of color television, and they turn up the green on the Masters broadcast.
Do they really? I never knew that.
They tweak the green up. That's why it looks so green.
It really does. You're right about that.
Because they're monkeying with it.
Fascinating. Fascinating. I watched some of that. It was intriguing to watch.
Another networking thing last night, I actually went to sleep, but I woke up at the end of it.
Okay.
The Billy Joel special.
I did watch some of that.
And because I'd left it on and it was still running, and I heard him get crank up. Piano is here. I'm sleepy now.
Come on, Jimmy. Wake up.
It was Piano Man, and so I'm watching, and all of a sudden and the local news started. And I went,
in the middle of it.
It didn't even have the CBSI. That didn't have credits. That didn't have anything.
Ouch.
Well, here it is. A network program timing era ended last night's Billy Joel special approximately 2 minutes early in the Eastern and Central time zone. So you may not have seen it.
Okay.
We apologize to Mr. Joel, his fans, our affiliated station, and our audience whose viewing experience was interrupted during the last song.
I'll be done.
Due to the overwhelming demand from his legion of fans, we will rebroadcast this show in its entirety on CBS on April 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right, I'm looking that up. I'm looking it up right now. 4 days from now.
Calendar here. Let's all scrub to the calendars.
The 19th is Friday night.
Okay, well, it's going to
run be able to see it Friday
in prime time on Friday night.
Okay, so you can spend all those hours again watching it, and hopefully this time you get the end.
You get the end of it with it.
No.
And it ended so jagged. That's what made people mad.
Yeah.
And plus, the great song, and it was just terrible. But I mean, it was a boo-boo.
I heard.
And you don't see that many boo-boos, but you see some.
I heard some people comparing it to the Heidi incident with the Raider game, which was, I don't know how many years ago that was years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
70s, 60s.
When they cut out to do something. They're always so scared, even for a tornado warning, which they will cut into whatever's going on.
Well, that's life or death. I get it.
But they still, listen, even if it's life or death, you still get bozos calling up the TV station saying,
are you kidding?
We've had a tornado. We've already killed 300 people. Where's Young and the Restless?
You cut into my story.
You're in messing with my story. So people still don't come. But they're very sensitive about cutting in. I kept thinking they were going to cut in. When was it? The other day when the Iran thing got going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When they started shooting all the missiles over, I thought it was they were bluffing.
Yeah.
I thought that CBS and all whoever was doing it, Fox, was just doing it to get you to watch.
Yeah.
And then it really started coming in and went, ooh. But it doesn't ever happen because they were shooting down all the missiles.
Yeah.
But it's just people cry wolf so much when the real thing comes up. You wonder if you would believe it.
Boy, that's the truth, isn't it? I mean, I do agree with you on that. They will sensationalize a story to a certain
Everything,
extent.
everything is breaking news. Everything
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
everything is breaking. That is such a violation of anything that I was taught when I started.
Mm-hmm.
If it was you had, there was actually, and this was before your time, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
We all used to get news in a radio station or TV station. It came from a wire service. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this is at some point starting, I don't know, maybe in the 40s or 50s. This may not even existed. I don't know when the wire services were created, but
Yeah.
you got, it's a teletype machine,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
And it got more sophisticated as time went on. But it would be your news would come over the UPI machine, the AP machine, usually UPI or
Okay.
radio station. And there would be certain levels of when the bells would go off.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest, which I only saw, I may have seen one. I'm not even sure then it was a flash. Maybe Kennedy was the flash, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
when he got killed, when he was murdered. But there very few have made it to the level of flash.
Okay.
That's when they did ding ding ding, like 5 bells or whatever it was, and
Yeah.
it came over flash. And the flash is always probably 5 or 6 words at the most.
And breaking news.
That
Breaking. I mean,
that's beyond breaking news. A
okay.
flash. And that's when you have a flash, you presumably interrupt programming wherever it is in the middle of
And
whatever it
cut
is
right into it.
to
Yeah.
get that on. That the urgency of one of those was that big. And then the next thing was a bulletin. And bulletins were fairly frequent.
Mm-hmm.
And then below that was an urgent, which was not really that important, but it was something.
Okay.
And then it may have been something after that. But Fox did it. I think they were the first to really abuse the breaking news thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sean Hannity, every time after every commercial, breaking news or whatever he would say, just threw it.
Yeah, it did seem like that. I really do
Threw it
remember
away.
that.
Threw
Yeah.
away the title where it cried wolf so many times.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. And it's interesting now because they can almost make anything sound like breaking news.
Yeah, the urgency of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they
I've
do.
been, when I was in my early radio days, I'm sure I was guilty of it. My friends, family would say that I was. I mean,
Yeah.
because I did things pretty urgently, and it could be a tornado was going through a part of Montgomery, and a tree got knocked over. Some people thought that sounded urgent, when I did it.
Well, for the people that were coming up on the tree, it was urgent. I mean, for sure. I thought it was kind of interesting when you brought that up and you said urgent, that we used to get our news in certain ways. And the AP is still around, but the AP doesn't seem to categorize levels of the news or anything like that. They do have websites and stuff, and it's different than Yahoo. The AP News to me is different, but
Well, Associated Press was something that was paid for, I think, originally by a whole bunch of newspapers joined together. There's Reuters, which is an international one, and there's Associated Press. I don't know that United Press still exists.
So is
anymore.
AP different now? Is the Associated Press different as far as who's running it?
AP was the real deal, as opposed to Yahoo.
Yeah.
is just a company that decides they're going to do news.
Okay. So
I'm just you could call yourself the DPs and be the same thing as a Yahoo. Yahoo just hired a bunch of people and said we're going to do news.
okay.
And I don't trust them as far. And they long since have gotten rid of most of those people, but they're still doing news. So I wouldn't trust necessarily unless they're bringing it over from ABC or it's coming from some other source. I don't trust Yahoo. To me, is not a reliable source.
Gotcha. But the AP is still, so people can
I
get
think
that.
I'm going to look them up right now.
Yeah, I mean,
they're still around.
I use
Associated
AP.
Press. It's under apnews.com.
Yeah.
They're the real deal.
Okay,
I mean,
so that's a good one to use.
That's
then.
legitimate people doing that, and a lot of those through AP you get, and there's also Reuters and there's Getty that supply the pictures. AP is a story. AP has reporters that are assigned, and they cover things on a national, international basis.
Okay.
And like I'm looking right here at their top stories right now.
Yeah.
Potential jurors called in the courtroom for the start of Trump's hush money trial.
That was
I'm still trying to figure out why that's such a. I mean, I know you. I don't know. If I paid you to be quiet, I still hadn't figured out why that's a makes me a criminal.
yeah.
That
I
I
don't
tried
know
to touch you up.
unless it's something to do with to quiet someone during an election or something, and maybe that's the angle they're looking at.
Yeah,
I don't
we'll
know.
have to see once this thing gets going on.
Yeah, what are they
You
doing
know,
now? They're doing picking jury people.
yeah,
Yeah.
and trying to get a fair trial,
Okay.
presumably for Trump
Good luck.
in New York that's
Good
bluer
luck.
than blue.
Yeah.
And you're not going to find anybody there I mean, I think I think the nation will react to that too,
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
because I think that people see it for what it is.
Yeah.
World leaders are urging Israel not to retaliate for the Iranian drone and missile attack. All right. I mean, if this was all right, they blew up something over in Syria because of some reason. And then Iran reacts by sending 700 missiles toward Israel.
And drones and all that.
But they were toward Israel.
Yeah.
Well, they considered that place where they blew up in Syria as their property because you consider your embassy as part of your sovereign territory.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That's how the rule around the world is.
Mm-hmm.
So now is Israel going to fight back? And since this is something we were recording, they may have already fired back.
Yeah.
But it says world leaders, and that definitely includes Biden, has said, don't do it, don't fire back, leave it alone, let this end right here, because we knocked them all down. But we're not going to help you go over there to do anything to them. Because it would be World War III. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is talk of that, and at the same time, it's like, well, does Israel have the right to strike back? Yeah, I
mean,
guess
if they
do.
Yeah, they
I
do.
mean, sure.
I mean, if they did it again, if they like tonight, Iran sent more stuff over, then I think
Different
Katie
game.
bar the door of what could happen.
Yeah, I agree.
So Iran's, I don't think that's stupid. They're gonna not gonna do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, part of me thinks maybe Iran was just saying, "Hey, this is a message," because they must have known that there was that. What's it called? The Iron something.
Well, they knew
the
that
Iron
they
Dome or whatever.
They're smart enough to know what the reaction was going to be.
Yeah, sure.
And they got so much free money in Iran because they sell oil to the Chinese.
So
which
they're
not
loaded.
supposed to be doing, but they do.
Yeah.
And so they got all kinds. It didn't cost them. But with us, that was real money. God knows what it cost to knock down all those. I mean, their missiles and bombs cost $2.50, whatever. We're spending, 10, 20, 30,000, $500,000 to fire something.
Yeah, no doubt.
All our missiles and rockets and smart bombs and all that stuff, they're expensive.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt
We
about
spent
it.
a fortune last night, and so did Israel
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
the other night.
Well, hopefully it stops there, because I don't, I certainly don't want to see the escalation, and I don't want to be in a
Yeah, I
world
don't either.
war.
I hope it does stop there because we don't want to be another world war.
No, definitely.
There was also something today. It says Bureau of Prisons to close California women's prison.
Yeah, what is
where
that
inmates
about?
have been subjected to. There is a women's prison in California known as the Rape Club, despite attempts to reform the troubled facility, expose rampant staff on inmate sexual abuse.
Okay, so when they say they're going to close it, what are they going to do with all the people, the inmates? I mean, they're going to move them to another facility?
One of the great problems in this country is that who wants to be a prison guard?
I was thinking about that the other day, because I thought, what do they pay? I don't know what they pay, but whatever it is, it can't be enough. I mean, even if it was
It can't be enough to
a
subject yourself to
six-figure income enough, I don't think it is.
I mean, and they don't certainly pay that, I'm sure.
No, I
And
imagine
usually
they don't.
prisons aren't in the best places in the world either.
Yeah.
They're in dookie places.
Yeah, they put them in a town that's in the middle of nowhere, so it's not a risk
right.
to the
And
public.
so you're going to have to live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Working at 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, you put yourself in prison. Maybe if you're in a guard tower and that's all you did, that might be okay.
Now,
But boy, I would.
Okay, I just looked up the average prison guard salary in the United States. You ready for this? $41,000 or
Wow.
$20 an hour.
See, that's what McDonald's
What?
people get paid.
What?
McDonald's people and Wendy's people now getting paid $20 an hour.
Yeah, that cannot. I mean, that can't. For a long time I've thought, firefighters get paid pretty good to risk their life, I think. policemen, I don't think they make enough for what they do. And prison
Oh,
guards,
two policemen got killed last night in
yeah,
upstate New York.
yeah. And so
Killed
now,
and murdered.
yeah, and at least with police officers, they get to deal with the general public. They're not all crackpots. When you're a prison guard, you have all.
No, you're in the.
They're
You're
all
in the,
bad.
You're,
Yeah,
you're horrible. You're horrible.
yeah.
I
What a
mean,
life.
it's
Oof.
got to be done, but we need to come up with some real different technology and the architecture of prisons and stuff like that, where it gets to be a no-touch thing. Where humans aren't dealing with these people.
Yeah, I like
I
your
mean,
idea. I mean,
that
technology.
robots or something are feeding them or taking the food, or where
Yeah.
you're not putting them in a deadly position,
Yeah.
in there, and while these people are getting treated, civilly.
Yeah,
But the fact that we let these prisons have all these gangs and all that stuff, I mean, that's where we can't get started on again. We don't want to do that even on here.
yeah,
We've got so many problems that we don't address. We keep sweeping things under the rug, whether it's the migrant thing and the illegal alien deal, or whether it's, people running for president that are 100 years old. We ought to have laws. Sad. The fact that we can't get our Congress people who wants to do that job.
Gosh, you're right. But at least
And
those
then
guys
when you
get
do
paid.
that job, and how these people become so rich doing a government job. I mean, that's always been and they're not going to investigate themselves.
Well, we can only
It's
speculate. Yeah.
monkey business.
Yeah.
And then here's something, and the ship that caused the bridge collapse
Yeah.
had apparent electrical issues while docked. So we don't have enough inspection people, but until something happens
Right.
to stop stuff like that from happening. We're not inspecting the things we need to inspect, and we're inspecting the stuff we don't need to inspect.
Yeah.
And we're worried about getting these. That's what drives me totally insane about technology. We're spending all this money and will and brain power on creating autonomous cars and these electric trucks and all this kind of crap, when you really ought to be using those people to further medical devices, to further or do new things of architecture and how to deal with prisons, how to build more ergonomic, cheaper to run, more efficiently run with less human prisons. But nobody wants to deal with that. They want to deal with laziness, where they can take the hands off the steering wheel so they can drive back from, the lake or something. It's just,
okay.
We're so lazy.
You got me started now. You got me started.
We're so lazy,
Have you?
In this country.
Okay, so I had a weird experience yesterday. The first time I've had this. I've been to restaurants where you look at the menu with the QR code. I've been to those, right? You just
I hate that too.
Okay, I hate it. So yesterday we go to a restaurant. We sit down at the table. There's a QR code on the table. You don't just QR to look at the menu. You QR code to order. And
was it a fast food place?
No,
or a
no,
restaurant?
it was a sit down beer pub type
chain restaurant.
Nope, one off. And so we did the whole order, and I got to the very end, and it said, "Pay with Apple Pay." Now we were with a group of people. We were at table, let's say 54. How do we split that up? Right? We can't. So we all have to pay one. And so I get to the end, and I don't have any Apple Pay money in my thing. That's the only thing they'd accept. So I hit delete. And so finally we had to call somebody over and say, "Hey, it's not working. I don't have my Apple Pay. I can't pay it. How else can we do this?" "Well, I can take your order." In the meantime, we all sat there and we were thinking, it's kind of neat technology, but look at the problem. I got the whole order in. It took us 15 minutes to pass the phone around the table, and everybody put their order in and punched it and gave it to the next person. And then we were screwed because we couldn't pay it. So we had to start over again. Come to find out, I could have paid it the same way I would have paid with my phone. It just wasn't set up for it. And so I think technology is good. It has some good things.
Technology is great.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a national, I mean, look, there's so many things. Let's look at this for a second.
Yeah.
Because we're building so many, like I'm using right now. I am uploading on my phone. My phone has them, because all my pictures are on my phone and on these two computers.
Okay.
They're also on Google Cloud. I think they're on Apple's cloud, and Amazon said I could put them on their cloud, and it looks great. And they're also using AI to identify their face recognition.
Okay.
And I have 75,000 pictures, and most of them are not labeled. But they've gone in there and they've done once they know the names of the people's faces,
Yeah.
even if it's my face as an old person, as opposed to when I was 30 years old, I look different.
Yeah.
So it says, "Is that you too?" Okay. So we mess that in there. So
Wow.
it's going AI through all my pictures and my
Wow.
children and everybody else and organizing it in that way. It's fantastic.
Sure.
But in order to do that, you got to have these buildings, these warehouse buildings that are so huge with all these servers on them and clouds. Most of your cloud servers, at least in our part of the world, I understand, are somewhere near Washington
Okay.
for whatever reason. They're in Virginia, and man, they're building them. Just Amazon is, and all these other people are building these things. There's one big one, I understand, on the Columbia River. We saw it when I was out there on one of the trips.
Oh, interesting.
It's on
I
the
had no
Columbia
idea.
River, on the way between George Washington and Portland, somewhere in there in the middle there
Yeah.
is like a. I mean, this thing is just as far as you can see is a server thing for
Really
somebody. I can't remember if it was
interesting.
Google or somebody.
Okay.
But anyway, those things suck power like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
They
And
are
water.
power
Yeah.
monsters, sucking monsters.
Yeah.
And because of the green people, and there's nothing wrong with being green, but the green people who are idiots, who have made us go with all these windmills and solar,
Yeah.
they're not efficient. They don't generate enough juice
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do anything. I mean, you need nuclear, you need coal, you need natural gas, you need something that can, has
Yeah.
got some bigness about it. And we're running out of electricity pretty fast. Hydro, that's another one. We have in the South, we have the luxury of hydroelectric,
Yeah.
and you have in the West. If you didn't have hydroelectric, Las Vegas would be dark.
Yeah. That was Hoover Dam, right? I mean, that was the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lake Mead, which nature has taken a lot of the water out of it, but that's a mess out there. You can't get dependent on any one thing
Yeah.
like hydro or whatever. You need to have a diverse, but we need to be focusing on how are we going to generate a more electricity and not in this silly ways that we're doing it, putting wind farms out in the Atlantic Ocean and all this stuff. We got clean burning natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
Every ship that's important in the United States Navy is run by a nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
So we haven't had it. No one's ever been killed
No.
by a nuclear
And they're-
reactor in this country. But everybody freaked out when they saw 3 Mile Island. They freaked out
Oh,
when they
it
saw
melted down. Yeah.
whatever that Jane Fonda movie was.
Yeah, you're right
You
about
know,
that, Jimmy. And those Googles and those, I'm not calling them out by name for any other reason. I'm just thinking of search engines, right? But companies like that not only consume a ton of power, but they also have to cool their systems down by
Oh, yeah.
using water. And they use, I was reading an article that said for every question that you ask Google, it takes an 8-ounce glass of water to
Got
cool
it.
to answer that question. Think
Well,
of,
that's why they're on the Columbia River there.
Yes. Yeah.
Columbia River's sucking through the veins of that place.
Of course, yeah, of course. So
And
yeah,
so they're smart about putting that there, and that was good.
Yeah.
That was a good way to use the resources. That water goes back in the system, and it's run through the coolers, and it goes back out in the water. With hopefully cool down and not heat it up.
Yeah.
Which that's another problem when you put hot water in something
there's
that's cold.
something there.
But,
Yeah,
but we ought to be working on those kind of things,
Yeah.
important things, like that instead of silly things.
yeah,
And,
you're right.
and
You're right.
but you got to have leadership. You've got to have people at the top of the food chain that aren't 100 years old, that are just taking their B12 shots and getting through every day. I
But
mean,
you
it scares
said it.
me to death up there when you've got, Trump or either one of these people
Yeah,
up there. One doesn't, I don't think, knows enough about it. He's a rookie, which is Trump,
yeah.
or Biden, who does know it up there, but he's old.
He just can't recall. He just
And
can't
well,
figure-
yeah, you don't need somebody who's not the top of their game.
Yeah, I
at
agree.
this deal.
I agree 100% with that. And you also said something earlier that struck a nerve with me in regards to who's running what, and that is we also have a bunch of congressmen and House reps and senators and stuff like that are going to vacate positions, and who's going to want to do that job, Jimmy? They drag you through the mud. Nobody
And plus,
wants.
yeah, they really do. They kill
Yeah.
you before you ever get there.
Yeah.
Because politics is such a dirty business.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
it always was. Like Chicago
Yeah, maybe,
politics was
maybe.
always dirty.
Yeah.
But now the whole country's got dirty politics.
And we're seeing it with all the ways to get news and to get pictures and film and video. You're seeing it. You're seeing
So I don't know where this goes. I mean, this goes back to what we've been before,
Yeah.
where we're a cat chasing its tail. We do need an energy policy, but we can't agree on whether or not we should have daylight savings time. You know, what I mean,
Right. Right.
we can't agree on anything. It
Yeah.
seems,
Yeah. You're right about
and
that.
and part of that is the nature of that is that we have been so fortunate in our entire lifetime that yes, country's been at war a few times, but it really hasn't affected us here in the mother. The things that really got the country awakened was 9/11.
I would agree with that.
That woke the
In our
country
era.
up, and
Yeah.
for a couple of days, we weren't black people, we weren't white people, we were just Americans. We weren't Yankees, we weren't Southerners, we were just Americans.
And it's too bad that that's what it takes to do something
It
like
does,
that.
and that's what it takes. And we have a whole, even a generation that's worse than us,
Mm-hmm.
that's coming along, that's really kooky
Yeah,
with
and
stuff.
and I will say this: it might have been World War II, the end of World War II for the generation before us. I don't know. I don't know if it was all the, building of the ships and the planes and all that,
Yeah.
industrial revolution kind of thing that was for the generation before us. But you're right; it was 9/11 for us. That woke us up. We all
It woke us
we
up for a little
joined
while.
we joined hands with our neighbors, so to speak. We weren't out there holding hands, but I mean, we were definitely, boy, who do we trust? Who do we know? This country is too valuable to let it slip through our fingers, and that's the truth. And now I think we've gotten back to a little bit of a complacency.
We
Where
have, and COVID screwed us up pretty bad.
there's that. There's also that.
COVID did more to us than 9/11 did
Yeah, as a country, I would agree. Yeah,
as
I
a
would
country. I mean, it changed things that we've never changed.
Agree. Yeah,
It did things to us that it caused us. It was like changing the course of the Mississippi River. That's happened. Earthquake has done that.
yeah,
The Mississippi River, if you look at it, there are a whole bunch of dead things of where the river has actually changed course. If you look at a map, and COVID made us change course. I mean, I didn't go back to college teaching after that,
that's right. Yeah, I
and
didn't know
and
that's
I
why.
was pretty good at doing that, and I didn't do that anymore after that for just various reasons.
Did you
But
teach
it
online
forced
for a
change.
time, or did you go? Did
Yeah,
you?
we did a little bit of that, but then I just didn't like how that was going, and no teacher that I know did.
Yeah, yeah. I
We all
agree.
hated the Zoom thing, but it gave us prematurely in some cases a change.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases it was time, and whatever it was,
Yeah,
it screwed up a couple of years worth of education for students that
Yeah.
got behind and never caught back up.
mm-hmm.
And it's just we hadn't quite recovered from that totally, but we've got to this presidential election. I worry about it no matter who wins,
I think everybody does
because
to a
I
certain
just don't
extent.
think it's going to be accepted well by the loser.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a polarized angle for either side, and I think you might be right with that. And I hope it doesn't cause chaos.
We've got to figure that out before it happens.
Yeah.
We really need to try to figure it out before it happens. I saw this horrible movie over the weekend,
Oh.
Civil War.
Ooh, I haven't
That's
seen it
the
yet.
biggest stewing pile of crap I've seen in a lot. I mean, one of the worst movies I've ever
It wasn't
seen.
good, huh?
And because I thought that, it got that much emotion out of me. I read a lot about it.
Yeah,
I
I've
read a
seen
lot
some
of
that.
reviews. I read a
Mhm.
lot of opinions about a lot of things. And it, it, looking back on that film, it wasn't effective. It was an anti-Donald Trump film for sure.
It was, or
The president was supposed to be Trump, that he was a three-term president that wouldn't leave office or something.
okay.
And then a lot of the people who were the really bad people, out in the world, the
Yeah.
soldiers, they were like Proud Boys or something, like they were militia type people.
Okay.
And they would just they had no rules of war. They just murdered somebody. Where are you from? Hong Kong? Okay, you're dead. In that,
Yeah.
it was some kind of, it was horrible. But those were clear to me after I got some distance from the film. But it was such a screwed up story mess. You couldn't tell who the good guys and the bad guys were and what were they doing
Yeah.
and who was who, and you didn't know who was what, and it was awful.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
make sure you don't pay the money to see it. Wait till it comes on Netflix. Civil Wars.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen it and I've read about it.
British director. It was. I mean, I don't know if. No, you couldn't be on either side and think that was a wonderful movie. I don't care. If I was a bright blue Democrat and saw that, who were you rooting for in that film? I mean, who was who? It was just a mess.
Yeah.
And I just
get
hope
it.
that we got everybody tearing at us. making stuff, like subliminally we're getting attacked, by people making films like this that's supposed to scare us because
Oh
this
yeah.
is what's going to happen in our country. Well, if it is, it'd be a little more organized than that movie was, I tell you. But,
Well, and
you
then you
know,
have countries like Japan that is saying, right now, hey America, we need you. We need you. We need the America that we know, to step up and do the right thing. And I think that's interesting because I don't know that we know what the right thing is to do anymore.
I don't either. I mean, you look at the military, and I've
Yeah.
had family in it and have some, and I don't see that. Well, I mean, just take a look at any type of institution like that.
Yeah.
Do we treat the cops right in this country? I don't
No, of
think so.
course not.
Do we treat the firefighters and give them the absolute best infrared searching gear, and
No.
if we put all the everything and just unlimited, so they'll be protecting and the EMS people, so they're absolutely the best and most efficient in the world?
No.
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 Do we treat the Army soldiers, the people that are the enlisted men, do we treat them great? No.
Right.
I've seen that firsthand lately. Uh, do we treat anybody right?
Poof, that's a great question. I mean, that is a
Except
loaded
people who are
one.
just, I mean, and you can't have a country that doesn't have a middle class. You can't, not what we're used to anyway.
Yeah.
If all we've got are people that can buy we've got a Lamborghini dealership now in Brentwood,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got a Ferrari dealership and all that stuff. These cars are $150,000, $200,000, $250,000.
Yeah.
Who the hell can pay that for a car?
You
And
know,
what do you get? What job are you doing that's creating that kind of money? And that's fine if you're making that kind of money doing something. But then we got it's way when you get to a country like the oligarchs that are in Russia.
yeah, yeah,
Russia's
yeah.
full of all these people that are oligarchs and have the yachts and all that, and then you have the proletariat working bees, that are eating potato soup,
And
and
feeding
there's
the
very
system.
few people in between.
I
And
saw.
that's where we're going if we don't try to big fix something that we're doing. And I don't know how you do it.
I
I have no
agree.
answers to that.
No,
I
I
just
agree
know
with
it's
you.
screwed up.
I agree with you 100%. We were in Vegas not too long ago, and we had a problem with our car, and so we had to go into the dealership to get a. I had something to do with the key. It wasn't matching up with the ignition, and we couldn't keep it without sending a message. So we're driving to the dealer, and we're driving through this part of town, which, just like you said, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, all these high end dealerships. We're driving through there, but on the way through there, in front of these dealerships and things like that, are homeless people
Yeah.
all the way through there. And then there's people dropping, $250 on a car, but coming out and having to drive around the homeless
It's
people.
just
The gap.
something's not right about either side of that picture.
There's something.
And,
There's something wrong about it. And I'm all
And I don't,
for.
and I'm all for people making all the money, and I
Yeah,
don't
me
care.
too, me
I
too.
don't hold that against singers and NFL players and all that stuff too.
Right.
But I also think, and I don't want the middle class gets taxed, and I'm not saying that the rich people need to get more taxed. I'm just saying the whole system, just from the Goodyear blimp looking down, doesn't feel right.
I agree.
And
And I would even take
just-
it a step further with that whole conversation in that we have a lot of people in our own country that could benefit from some of the overruns as far as tax money goes and things like that, yet we're giving it to people that we don't even know who they are, who are coming into this country in a way that's not proper.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just, we're going to ruin ourselves if we just keep this door open and and I'm sure, listen, we're the envy of the world still.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We are. And you can't let everybody, you can't have the front door of your home right now open where somebody can move into the living room and move into the kitchen.
Right.
It's not the world. Whether it should be that way, I don't know, but it's not the way we operate. So we've got to take care of our own family, and then we can help take care of the rest of the world. That's that. But I don't want us to be that what do they call that when you do that, isolationist.
No,
I want
don't
us
either.
to do what we're doing, keep the world safe as much as we can, but treat our people good. I mean,
Yeah. No, I agree. At least treat them decently, even.
treat them decently.
Yeah.
At least the people that the police, fire, military, all those kind of people, and you just see so many people ripping off the government.
Yeah.
On some things, and Medicare gets ripped off real bad.
Sure.
people overcharging on stuff when they can get away with it. But it's just,
Yeah.
this is going to come to an end of the road at some point.
It has
I
to,
think-
and hopefully
I
it's
think
not.
it has to.
Hopefully it's not
And
in a
it's
bad
like,
way.
Around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel, and then all of a sudden, pop, and it stopped, and you have musical chairs, and everybody sits down. 10 people try to sit down in the 5 chairs that are there,
Man,
and
great.
I'm afraid that's where we're going at some point if somebody doesn't try to fix some of this.
Yeah, pop goes the weasel. This is theory. I love it. I mean, it gives everybody something to think about. And Jimmy, always fun to talk to you and get your take on things. However many years you've got in the news industry, 50 something plus probably.
500, I think 500 something.
I love it, man. It's always good to talk to you. Thank you again for joining us on Sweeping the Country. Until next time, I'm Derek Walker. He is
Jimmy Carter.
the man who knew too much. Good day.